Collision. When the Mafia's cold-blooded assassin was sent to kill the CEO's daughter, no one expected a rural village girl to catch a flying knife with her bare hands. But what started as a night of blood turned into a destiny of love, betrayal, and miracles. Heartbreak. Watch till the end for the shocking twist that changed everything, and don't forget to subscribe to this channel for more heart-stopping love thrillers that will make you cry, gasp, and believe in fate again. Collision. The night was painted with rain and gunpowder when Ethan Zhao, the ruthless CEO of one of Asia's largest conglomerates, ordered his private security to tighten surveillance. Rumors of a mafia hit had spread through the neon-lit city like wildfire. He didn't know that the one in danger wasn't him, but his only daughter, Liana Zhao, the gentle violinist whose world revolved around music and moonlight rather than corporate empires and blood-soaked deals. In another corner of the same world, deep inside the fog-covered mountains of a forgotten village, a mysterious girl named Mira Lin was training with her grandfather, a once feared soldier who vanished decades ago after being betrayed by the same mafia family Ethan now unknowingly funded. When the mafia boss, Viktor Dragiv, learned that Ethan planned to cut ties with his underground network, he ordered a hit, not on Ethan, but on his heart, his daughter. The assassin sent for the task was known only as Ghost. No one had ever seen him. No one had ever lived to describe him. But fate had other plans that night. Liana's car was ambushed on the outskirts of the city when she was returning from a charity concert in the countryside. The convoy flipped after a truck slammed into them. Amidst the wreckage, bleeding and terrified, Liana stumbled out of the shattered door into the forest. The rain poured mercilessly, and lightning illuminated the shadowy figure following her. Ghost moved like a phantom, his knife glinting under the stormy sky, but before he could strike, a slender hand caught the blade midair. Mira, the rural girl who had been gathering herbs nearby. Her palm bled, but her eyes didn't waver. "You'll have to go through me first," she said in a calm voice that sliced sharper than steel. Ghost smirked. He had killed hundreds. But when he attacked, Mira's movements blurred like wind. She disarmed him, flipped his body into the mud, and held his own blade to his throat. Yet she didn't kill him. Instead, she said, "Someone like you doesn't need death. You need to remember who you were." And something old and broken, awoke in Ghost's memory, a flash of a war, a child's scream, and a pendant identical to the one Mira wore around her neck. Mira took Liana to her small wooden cabin and nursed her wounds, unaware that the frightened girl was the daughter of a billionaire CEO. Liana, in turn, saw kindness and strength in Mira that she'd never seen in her luxury-locked world. Days passed as Mira taught her to cook over open fire, fish in the river, and listen to silence. When Liana's security finally tracked her signal and brought her back, Ethan personally arrived, grateful yet puzzled by the mysterious girl who had saved his daughter. When he offered money, Mira refused, saying, "I didn't save her for gold. I saved her because someone has to stand between innocence and darkness." Ethan couldn't forget those words, or her piercing eyes that seemed to recognize something deep within him. He later discovered through background checks that Mira Lin's grandfather was General Lin Wei, once accused of betraying the Zhao family during the underground wars 20 years ago. Shocked, Ethan ordered her to stay away, but destiny wasn't done weaving its web. 1 week later, the Mafia struck again, this time at the Zhao Corporation's Grand Anniversary Gala. Bombs exploded, glass shattered, and amidst the chaos, Ethan saw a figure fighting off armed men with nothing but a metal pole. It was Mira. She had come uninvited, sensing danger. The sight of her taking bullets for his daughter burned into Ethan's heart like fire. As she collapsed, bleeding, Ethan carried her himself to his private medical wing. When she awoke, her first words were not about her pain but, "Is your daughter safe?" That moment shattered Ethan's last wall. He stayed by her bedside through the night, and for the first time in years, the ruthless CEO's eyes softened. But the deeper he looked into her past, the more he unraveled. Mira was not a random rural girl. She was the granddaughter of the very man who once saved Ethan's life during a covert operation gone wrong. The betrayal, Ethan realized, had been fabricated by Viktor Dragiv to destroy both families. As the truth surfaced, Viktor unleashed his fury. He kidnapped Liana from her home, threatening to broadcast her execution unless Ethan handed over his company's secret military tech project. Ethan, desperate and broken, was ready to surrender everything, but Mira stopped him. "You can't fight corruption by feeding it," she said, her voice trembling but firm. She went alone, infiltrating Victor's hideout, a decaying factory lit by crimson lights, crawling with guards. Inside, Ghost was waiting. He'd remembered now. He wasn't just an assassin. He was Leon Lin, Myra's long-lost brother who was kidnapped as a child and brainwashed into serving the Mafia. When he saw her, tears cut through his coldness. "Sister," he whispered, dropping his gun. Victor sneered, "So the lost lambs reunite. Let's see who bleeds first." A brutal fight ensued. Mira against Victor's army, Ethan's private team storming the gates, Leon torn between guilt and redemption. When Victor fired at Liana, Mira jumped before the bullet, catching it with her bare hand before striking Victor's weapon aside and sending him crashing through the railing into molten steel below. But the damage was done. Her hand burned, her body broken. As sirens wailed and the sky broke into dawn, Ethan knelt beside Mira, cradling her hand that once caught a blade. "Why would you risk your life for us?" he asked, voice cracking. Mira smiled faintly, "Because you don't save people for who they are. You save them for who they could be." Her words pierced through him deeper than any bullet. When she slipped unconscious, Ethan ordered every surgeon, every machine, every ounce of power he had to keep her alive. For days, the hospital became a battlefield of hope and despair. Liana prayed beside her, whispering that she would play her violin every day if Mira just woke up. And when she finally did, weak but alive, the entire floor erupted in tears. Ethan stood silently by the window, his heart caught between guilt and gratitude. Months later, the Mafia empire collapsed under Ethan's testimony and Leon's cooperation with international police. The world hailed Ethan as a hero, but he knew the real hero was the girl who once caught death itself with her bare hands. Mira refused fame. She returned to her village, tending to her grandfather's grave, believing her chapter with the city was over, until one evening, a helicopter landed on the field. Ethan stepped out, not as the cold CEO, but as a man stripped of pride. "You saved my daughter, my company, and my soul," he said softly, holding a single lotus he'd brought from the city's rooftop pond. "But I'm here for something I never thought I'd find again, my heart." Mira turned away, unsure whether to laugh or cry. "A CEO and a rural girl. That's a fairy tale," she murmured. Ethan took her scarred hand gently, pressing it to his chest. "No," he said, "this is reality. And it started the day you caught a knife meant to end everything." Their love didn't bloom in luxury but in sincerity, two broken worlds meeting halfway. Liana adored her like a sister. Leon guarded them from shadows, rebuilding his life as a protector instead of a killer. Years passed, and the once ruthless tycoon became known as the CEO with a warrior's wife, whose charity foundation healed victims of violence and rebuilt war-torn villages. Yet sometimes, when thunder rumbled across the horizon, Ethan would still wake up at night, remembering the girl who caught lightning with her hand. And in those quiet moments, he'd whisper to her sleeping form, "You saved me long before you ever touched me." But fate had one last twist. During a United Nations peace event, a journalist handed Mira an old photograph. It showed her grandfather standing beside a young soldier. Behind them was a child Ethan never recognized, himself. The realization hit like a wave. Their destinies had been intertwined since childhood, saved by the same man, separated by lies, reunited by fate. Mira smiled through tears. "Maybe we were never strangers," she said. Ethan kissed her forehead. "No," he whispered. "We were just waiting for the right war to bring us home." And under the spotlight of a world that once thrived on greed and power, two souls, one forged in fire, one purified by love, stood hand in hand, proving that even in a world of bullets and betrayal, love is the sharpest weapon of all. Heartbreak Fire.